My phone lit up on my glass desk in downtown Miami. The notification cutting through the hum of my Brickell Avenue office like a knife. I'm Annis Lewin, 29 years old, and I've built my reputation as one of South Florida's most sought-after luxury wedding coordinators. My client list reads like a who's who of Miami society, and my events have been featured in Vogue and Martha Stewart weddings. But the text glowing on my screen wasn't from a grateful bride or a high-end venue manager. It was from my brother, David. Anise, after talking with Tasha, we've decided you won't be attending the engagement party. It's nothing personal. I stared at those words, my stomach dropping like I'd just plummeted down a roller coaster. Not attending. The engagement party I'd been planning for 4 months. The party I'd poured $8,000 of my own money into. The party where every single vendor had my name on their contracts, my reputation on the line, my personal relationships securing the impossible bookings that made David look like a hero to his fiancée. Nothing personal. I set the phone down with trembling fingers, surrounded by the very contracts that proved just how personal this was. Raymond Gibson's venue agreement for the waterfront ballroom. Sandra Hawkins' catering proposal for the 7-course tasting menu. Brian Jackson's floral designs that I'd sketched myself during countless late nights. Every signature was mine. Every deposit came from my account. Every favor called in was from my decade of building trust in this industry. My brother had just uninvited me from my own creation. The Miami skyline stretched beyond my floor-to-ceiling windows, but all I could see was the betrayal burning behind my eyes. 4 months of 16-hour days. 4 months of saying no to paying clients because family came first. 4 months of believing that blood meant something more than business. I picked up my phone again, scrolling to my travel app with a smile that would have terrified anyone who knew me well enough to recognize it. A plan was crystallizing, sharp and perfect, as the diamond engagement ring I'd helped David pick out. But what my brother didn't know was that his perfect party was about to become his worst nightmare, and I was about to disappear to paradise while watching it all burn down from 4,000 miles away. If you've ever been stabbed in the back by family after giving them everything, you'll want to hear how this ends, because trust me, what happened next will restore your faith in karma. If this story moves you, or you love a good revenge tale, smash that like button and subscribe, because this is about to get wild, and you won't want to miss what happens next. 4 months earlier, David had called me on a Tuesday morning while I was juggling 3 celebrity weddings and a corporate gala. His voice carried that familiar mix of excitement and desperation that only little brothers can master. Annis, you're the only one who can make this perfect. Tasha deserves the best, and you're the best. I should have said no. My calendar was already bleeding red with overlapping deadlines, and my assistant had been begging me to stop taking new clients. But when David explained how he wanted to propose at their anniversary dinner, then throw an engagement party that would blow Tasha's mind, my heart melted. This was my baby brother, the kid I'd helped raise after Dad left, the one who used to fall asleep in my lap during Disney movies. Of course I'll help, I heard myself saying. Family first, always. That decision cost me everything. Within a week, I was working 60-hour weeks, splitting time between my paying clients and David's dream party. I turned down a $50,000 wedding because the dates conflicted with his engagement timeline. I canceled my vacation with Stanley, my boyfriend of 2 years, explaining that family emergencies came first. I know I've been absent, but this is for family. David would do the same for me, I told Stanley as he watched me pack another late dinner to eat at the office. The sacrifices mounted like interest on a loan I'd never agreed to take. I called Raymond Gibson, the venue manager at Miami's most exclusive waterfront ballroom, cashing in a favor from when I'd saved his reputation during a hurricane-damaged wedding. He gave me the prime Saturday slot that had a 2-year waiting list. Sandra Hawkins, the city's premier caterer, owed me for referring dozens of high-end clients. I convinced her to create a custom 7-course menu featuring Tasha's favorite foods, each dish a work of art that would photograph beautifully for social media. Brian Jackson, the floral designer who'd won 3 national awards, agreed to work within my timeline only because I'd been his first major client when he was starting out. Together, we designed cascading orchid arrangements that would transform the ballroom into a tropical paradise. Every vendor required deposits. $8,000 flowed from my personal account like water through a broken dam. My business account was reserved for paying clients, so David's party came straight from my savings. The money I'd been setting aside for a down payment on a house, for the future Stanley and I had been planning. The late nights blurred together. Chinese takeout containers stacked on my desk while I hand-sketched table arrangements. My fingers cramped from drawing the perfect layout. I'd picture David's face when he saw the transformation. Imagine Tasha's tears of joy. Envision the family photos, where everyone would thank me for making magic happen. My phone buzzed constantly with vendor confirmations, timeline adjustments, last-minute changes that Tasha requested through David. Each email bore my signature. Each contract listed Anis Lewin Events as the primary contact. I was the architect of their perfect night. Stanley started staying at his own apartment more often. My friends stopped inviting me out. My other clients received the bare minimum attention while I poured my soul into creating something extraordinary for the 2 people I loved most. I told myself it would all be worth it when I saw their faces light up at the party I'd built from nothing. My hands shook as I dialed David's number, the text message still burning on my screen. He answered on the 3rd ring, his voice casual, like he'd just told me about the weather. "Hey, Anis, what's up?" "What's up?" My voice cracked. "David, what do you mean I'm not attending the party? I've been planning this for 4 months. His sigh carried through the phone like a slap. "Look, Tasha's friends are sophisticated. You can be a lot. We need this to be elegant, not chaotic. A lot." The words hit me like ice water. Chaotic. David, I am a professional event planner. I've coordinated weddings for celebrities, for politicians. What exactly is chaotic about my work? It's not your work. It's just your energy. Tasha thinks you bring negative vibes. And honestly, after thinking about it, I agree. This night needs to be perfect. Perfect. Using my vendors, my deposits, my sleepless nights, my professional reputation, but without me. David, I've spent $8,000 of my own money on this party, and we appreciate that. But the decision is made. The line went dead. I stared at my phone, my chest heaving like I'd just run a marathon. 20 minutes later, it rang again. "Mom." "Anis, honey, David told me you're upset about the party." Kimberly Bermudes, my mother, the woman who'd raised me to believe family was everything. Surely she'd see how wrong this was. "Mom, they uninvited me from a party I planned and paid for. How is that okay?" "Anis, stop being selfish. This isn't about you. Just write the check and move on." Selfish. For being hurt that my own family had discarded me like trash. "Mom, I've sacrificed everything for this party. I turned down paying clients. I haven't seen Stanley in weeks. I've been working myself to death. That was your choice. David didn't force you to do anything. Now you're trying to ruin his special day because you're not the center of attention. The center of attention. As if wanting basic respect from my family made me a narcissist. I'm not trying to ruin anything. I just want to understand why I'm suddenly not good enough for my own brother's party. You need to support your brother and stop making everything about yourself. She hung up. I sat in my office, surrounded by contracts bearing my signature, feeling more alone than I'd ever felt in my life. An hour later, Dad called. No pleasantries, straight to business. Anis, your mother told me about your tantrum. Despite this drama, we still expect your contribution to David and Tasha's honeymoon fund. $2,500, as discussed. I actually laughed. A bitter sound that echoed off my office walls. You want me to pay for their honeymoon after uninviting me from their party? Family obligations don't disappear because of hurt feelings. David is your brother. And I'm his sister. Where was that family obligation when he decided I wasn't worthy of attending? Write the check, Anis. Don't make this harder than it needs to be. I hung up and immediately opened my voice recording app, hitting record before calling him back. In Florida, one-party consent made this perfectly legal. Dad, just to be clear, you're demanding I pay $2,500 for a honeymoon celebration for a couple who uninvited me from their engagement party? That's correct. Family comes first. I saved the recording, my hands steady now with cold fury. That's when I realized they hadn't just uninvited me from a party. They'd uninvited me from the family, but they had no idea what they'd just unleashed. Sandra Hawkins found me at 9 p.m., still hunched over my desk. Mascara streaked down my cheeks as I stared at the mountain of contracts spread before me. My best friend since college, an occasional business partner, took one look at my face and locked the office door behind her. Okay, spill. What did your family do now? I told her everything. The text, the phone calls, the demand for honeymoon money after being cast out like a leper. Sandra listened without interrupting, her expression growing darker with each detail. When I finished, she picked up Raymond Gibson's venue contract, studying my signature at the bottom. Anis, honey, look at this. Really look at it. I glanced at the familiar paperwork. What am I looking at? The primary contact, the person responsible for coordination, the name on every single vendor agreement. She spread the contracts across my desk like tarot cards revealing my future. Anis Lewin Events, LLC. Your company, your reputation, your relationships. My breath caught as the reality hit me. Raymond Gibson didn't know David from a random guy on the street. Sandra's catering company had worked with me for 5 years. Not my brother. Brian Jackson trusted my vision, not Tasha's Pinterest boards. Honey, you are this party. Every vendor, every detail, every backup plan. It's all you. What happens if you just don't show up? I stared at the contracts with new eyes. My personal credit card was on file for all deposits. My phone number was the emergency contact. My professional relationships were the foundation holding this entire event together. They think they can just replace me? I whispered. With what? David doesn't know the difference between a centerpiece and a cheese plate. Tasha's never planned anything bigger than a dinner reservation. Sandra leaned forward, her voice intense. You hold all the cards here, every single one. The shift happened like a switch, flipping in my brain. The hurt and betrayal crystallized into something sharper, more focused. They wanted elegant and sophisticated. They wanted to exclude the chaos of my presence. They want elegant and sophisticated. Let's see how elegant it gets when their wedding planner vanishes. Sandra's grin was predatory. Now you're thinking clearly. What's the plan? I pulled up my laptop, fingers hovering over the keyboard. The vendor contact list glowed on my screen. Dozens of professionals who knew me, trusted me, had worked miracles because I asked them to. I'm not just walking away from this party, I said, my voice steady for the first time in hours. I'm disappearing completely. Let them figure out how to coordinate a luxury event with zero experience and zero industry connections. And where will you be while Rome burns? I opened a new browser tab, searching for flights to somewhere warm, somewhere far from Miami's drama, somewhere with Mai Tais and zero cell service. Sandra laughed, the sound sharp and satisfied. You know what? Good for you. They made their choice. Now they get to live with the consequences. Drop a comment if you think she should pull the plug. Or if you think she should still try to save the relationship. What would you do? I opened my laptop and started typing emails that would change everything. But first, I had a plane ticket to book. At 11:47 p.m., I began typing the emails that would detonate my brother's perfect party. My fingers moved with surgical precision across the keyboard, each message crafted to be professional, courteous, and absolutely devastating. To Raymond Gibson at the Waterfront Ballroom. Dear Raymond, due to unforeseen circumstances, I am withdrawing as event coordinator for the Fleischer engagement party, effective immediately. Please direct all questions to David Fleischer directly at the number provided. Thank you for your understanding. Best regards, Anis Lewin. To Sandra Hawkins, Catering. Sandra, I am no longer coordinating Saturday's event. David Fleischer will be handling all arrangements moving forward. Please contact him for any questions regarding setup, timing, or menu modifications. To Brian Jackson Florals. Brian, effective immediately, I am stepping back from the Fleischer event. All coordination responsibilities transfer to David Fleischer. His contact information is attached. One by one, I severed every professional connection that held David's party together. The lighting technician, the photographer, the musicians, the valet service. Every vendor received the same polite, professional withdrawal notice. My phone started buzzing immediately. Raymond's name flashed on the screen, then Sandra's, then Brian's. I let them all go to voicemail. They'd figure it out soon enough. At midnight, I opened Expedia and searched for flights to Maui. First class, departing Miami at 6 a.m. Saturday morning, exactly when David would be waking up to coordinate his party. The irony was delicious. The Grand Wiley Resort had a last-minute cancellation. Ocean view suite, spa package included. Infinity pool overlooking the Pacific. I booked it without hesitation, using the money I'd been saving for a house down payment. If I was going to watch my family's world burn, I'd do it from paradise. I packed light. Sundresses, swimwear, a good book I'd been meaning to read for months. My laptop stayed behind. This wasn't a working vacation. At 5 a.m., my Uber arrived to take me to Miami International. I sent one final text to Stanley, going off-grid for a few days. Don't worry about me. I'm finally putting myself first. His response came immediately. About time. Have fun, beautiful. You deserve this. At the gate, my phone exploded with notifications. Missed calls from David, frantic texts from vendors, voicemails from my parents. I scrolled through them with detached amusement, like watching a disaster movie where you already know the ending. David's latest text read, Anis, the vendors are saying you withdrew. This has to be a mistake. Call me now. I switched my phone to airplane mode and smiled at the flight attendant as she scanned my boarding pass. "First time to Maui?" she asked cheerfully. "First time choosing myself," I replied. As the plane taxied down the runway, I pictured David waking up in his Miami Beach condo, probably just now realizing that his perfect party was about to become his perfect nightmare. 4,000 miles away, vendors were arriving at an empty ballroom with no coordinator, no timeline, and no idea what they were supposed to be doing. I ordered a mimosa and settled back into my first-class seat, ready to disappear into paradise, while my family learned what happened when you bite the hand that feeds you. While I was sipping my first Mai Tai on Wailea Beach, watching the sunrise paint the Pacific in shades of gold, David's perfect party was imploding 3 time zones away. Raymond Gibson arrived at the waterfront ballroom at 7 a.m. to find complete chaos. No coordinator, no timeline, no idea which of the 3 events scheduled that day belonged to David Fleischer. The floral delivery sat wilting in the Miami heat because no one knew where the arrangements were supposed to go. Sandra's catering team showed up with 7 courses of gourmet food and nowhere to set up the warming stations. The custom menu I'd designed, Tasha's favorite lobster bisque, the truffle risotto, the chocolate soufflé that required precise timing, sat in transport containers while David frantically Googled how to coordinate catering setup. By noon, guests were arriving to a ballroom that looked like a construction zone. Half the tables had no linens. The signature cocktail station was missing because David didn't know it existed. Brian's stunning orchid arrangements were scattered randomly around the room like expensive afterthoughts. Tasha arrived in her custom Valentino dress to find her engagement party looking like a high school cafeteria. The photographer I'd booked was taking pictures of empty tables and confused guests milling around, asking where the bar was. Didn't his sister plan this? Where is she? I later learned a guest had asked. The question caught on someone's Instagram story. That's when Tasha lost it. "You said you had this handled. This is humiliating." Her voice carried across the ballroom as she screamed at David in front of 150 of Miami's social elite. The moment was captured on multiple phones, her face red with rage, David's hands shaking as he tried to calm her down. The cold lobster bisque was served at room temperature. The musicians never showed up because David didn't have their contact information. Guests started leaving by 3 p.m., posting Instagram stories with captions like, "Most awkward party ever," and "When you forget to hire a coordinator." But the real viral moment came when Tasha's maid of honor posted a TikTok that exploded across social media. The video, titled "When the Wedding Planner Ghosts," showed the empty dance floor, the wilted flowers, and Tasha crying in the bathroom, while David argued with vendors in the background. 2.3 million views, and counting. Local Miami bloggers picked up the story. "Engagement Party Disaster Rocks Brickell Elite," read the headline in Miami Social Scene magazine, complete with photos of the failed event and speculation about what went wrong. Meanwhile, I was floating in an infinity pool overlooking the Pacific, my phone safely locked in the hotel room's safe. The buzzing had been constant for hours. Calls, texts, voicemails from family members, vendors, even reporters who'd somehow gotten my number. But I couldn't hear any of it over the sound of waves in my own laughter. For the first time in months, I felt completely, blissfully at peace. 7 days in Maui changed everything. I spent mornings doing yoga on the beach, afternoons reading by the infinity pool, and evenings journaling about the toxic patterns I'd finally broken free from. For the first time in years, I wasn't checking my phone every 5 minutes or worrying about someone else's timeline. The island's rhythm slowed my racing thoughts. I hiked through bamboo forests, swam with sea turtles, and discovered what it felt like to put myself first, without guilt eating me alive. Each sunset reminded me that the world was bigger than my family's drama. When I finally turned my phone back on at Miami International Airport, I discovered I'd become internet famous. The TikTok of Tasha's meltdown had spawned dozens of reaction videos. Twitter threads dissected the engagement party disaster. Reddit forums debated whether I was a hero or a villain. But the real shock came when I opened my business email. 347 new inquiries. High-end clients from New York, Los Angeles, even London, all requesting the same thing. We want the planner who walked away from family drama. That takes serious backbone, wrote a tech billionaire planning his daughter's wedding. My calendar filled with consultations for 6-figure events. Celebrities who'd seen the viral videos wanted someone who wouldn't take their nonsense. Corporate clients praised my legendary professionalism in online reviews. The Miami Herald featured me in their business section, under the headline, "Event Planners Viral Stand Sparks Booking Boom." Stanley met me at my apartment with champagne and the biggest smile I'd ever seen on his face. "I've never been more attracted to you than watching you choose yourself," he said, pulling me into his arms. "You're glowing." He was right. The mirror reflected someone I barely recognized. Relaxed, confident, free from the constant anxiety of trying to please people who would never be satisfied. My bank statements told the story in numbers. 300% increase in bookings. Deposits for events that would net more profit in 6 months than I'd made in the previous 2 years. The $8,000 I'd spent on David's party looked like pocket change compared to my new earning potential. The woman who'd left Miami, broken and betrayed, had returned as a force to be reckoned with. My family's rejection had accidentally launched me into a stratosphere of success I never could have imagined. If this story inspired you to set better boundaries in your own life, let me know in the comments. Your story might be next. 3 weeks after my return, the Miami Herald's society page ran a small notice that made me smile over my morning coffee. Fleischer-Henderson engagement announcement retracted. David and Tasha's relationship had crumbled under the weight of their public humiliation. The voicemails started immediately. "Anis, please call me back. I know I messed up. Tasha and I broke up, and I realize now I need my sister." David's voice cracked with desperation. But I felt nothing. No satisfaction, no vindication. Just the peaceful indifference of someone who'd moved on completely. Mom called next, her tone softer than I'd heard in years. "Honey, we made mistakes. Can we talk?" Dad's message was shorter. "Your brother needs family right now. Don't abandon him when he's down." The irony was breathtaking. They'd abandoned me when I was down, but now expected me to rush back because David was suffering consequences of his own choices. I responded to David with a single text. I needed my brother too. The difference is, I've learned to live without people who don't value me. Then I blocked all their numbers. Stanley found me that evening on my apartment balcony, watching the Miami skyline twinkle in the distance. He'd been unusually quiet all day, fidgeting with something in his pocket. "You know what I love most about you?" he said, dropping to one knee. "You know your worth, and you won't settle for less." The ring was perfect, a vintage emerald that caught the city lights like captured starlight. I said yes before he finished asking the question. 1 year later, I moved into a corner office in Brickell's most prestigious building. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked Biscayne Bay, and my client list read like a Forbes billionaire directory. The woman who'd once begged for family approval now had celebrities begging for her time. David tried reaching out through mutual friends, through Stanley, even through my new assistant. Each attempt was politely deflected. I'd built a life that didn't include people who saw my love as weakness and my boundaries as betrayal. The final vindication came when Miami Social Scene magazine named me Event Planner of the Year. The article mentioned my legendary professionalism and uncompromising standards, with a sidebar about the viral party disaster that had launched my career into the stratosphere. At the awards ceremony, I spotted my parents across the room. Mom looked older, sadder. Dad avoided eye contact. They'd lost their daughter, not through death or distance, but through their own choices to prioritize one child's comfort over another's dignity. I felt nothing but pity for them. Stanley squeezed my hand as I accepted the crystal trophy, his engagement ring catching the spotlight. In the audience, I saw clients who'd become friends, vendors who'd become family, a community built on mutual respect rather than blood obligation. Sometimes the greatest gift you can give yourself is the permission to walk away from people who don't deserve your energy, I said in my acceptance speech, even if they share your DNA. The applause was thunderous. Later, at the after-party Stanley had secretly planned, I looked around at faces that lit up when they saw me. People who celebrated my success instead of resenting it. This was what family was supposed to feel like. And that's how a text message that was meant to exclude me ended up including me in the best year of my life. Sometimes the trash really does take itself out. If this story inspired you to set better boundaries in your own life, let me know in the comments. Your story might be next. The only regret I had was not walking away sooner.